Joel, we're back and we are talking about when losing an account. An odd topic to start with. Doesn't really sound all that happy.
No, it usually is not.
However,
It happens.
and we know it's going to happen.
Yeah, we usually know in advance that it's going to happen.
Walk me through this.
When you start a new account, everybody is happy and excited, and it's like the shiny new vehicle sitting in your driveway.
You're anxious to get started. Everything's fresh.
That the client's excited because they've brought you on to solve a problem, and then things happen. Sometimes the person who hired you in the company moves on to another job, and sometimes it is within the same company, but they're in a different division, or they moved on to another company, and the person that's taken over has no loyalty.
So your advocate is gone.
Your advocate is gone. And usually when a new person takes on one of those roles, they want to put their thumb on things. And the easiest roles to replace are janitorial services. Or that's one of the things that's happened in the 40 plus years I've been in this industry. It's happened numerous times. So that's one way that things kind of go sideways. Another one is, even though you have everything documented on the notes from your walkthrough and the conversations that you had with the client, and you prepare a proposal and you have all these a service agreement that's written up that shows what you're going to do, how often you're going to do, and all that, it still comes down to when we talked in another podcast about what is clean and how people view what clean is. Sometimes that's different. And when you are working in a space that's still being worked in while you're doing the cleaning services, sometimes people go in and mess up the areas that you've worked in. So now it becomes a he said, she said, and it becomes sometimes a very adversarial relationship. Well, you guys didn't clean it. Well, yes, we did. Well, you can't prove it. Well, yes, I can. And when you get in that back and forth kind of talk, all it does is create animosity between both companies, and nobody wants that to happen.
Sure.
Sometimes it might be that the same problems reoccur, and it might not be a big thing on the surface, but when it's the same trash can that gets missed, or the same restroom that gets missed, or the same, cabinets don't get refilled with supplies, those end up getting under the skin of a client. And no matter how much you go out and retrain somebody or go and check on it yourself or whatever, things still happen. You get another problem you got to go check on because you're going to trust the individual. Hey, Ray, I talked to you. Can you take care of this tonight and text me when you fixed it so that I know that it's been done?
Sure.
And then the next day after you've texted me, say, oh, I filled it. And then the client says, oh, that cabinet's not filled again. Now it's, again, back to he said, she said, and I didn't see it with my own eyes. So those are the types of things that can happen. So then you get your 30-day notice. You usually know when it's going to come.
Sure.
I mean, it's just like an employee that is honest with themselves who's going to be terminated. You know when you're a service contractor, usually when you're going to be let go from service. So now it becomes sometimes very adversarial right up till the end. And you don't want it to be, because what you're trying to do is continue to build a bridge and show them that you're going to still honor everything about the contract. And one thing I learned very early in my career was you need to leave that building cleaner on the last night's service than you did on the first night's service when you first took over.
Why do you say that, Joel?
Because you don't know how your competition's going to come in and handle the same situation. You may actually have that client call you back and say, we made a grave mistake.
So what you're telling me, if I'm hearing you can be fired from an account because someone was upset, whether they were justified or not. You're fired. To turn services over, they bring in someone new. A couple of nights later, they realize
we were getting a lot more service with the other company.
Yeah, okay.
And it does happen.
So,
it doesn't happen often.
So the end doesn't necessarily mean the end.
It doesn't necessarily mean the end. But again, if that person moves on to another building somewhere else, whose names are they going to remember? Yours and maybe the other company. And now they're going to have another bid at another company because, they're in that role again and they're looking to make a change. And they're going to remember that you went out on top. Even though they ended up letting you go because of other problems, sometimes they realize that you're really not the problem. That sometimes it can be access, maybe it's a training issue, maybe it's the individual that works there because that person has a halo effect. with the manager or whatever, that you don't move a person, because I've done that in the past where I move people from a building and then all of a sudden the problems multiply, and then we bring the person back and then the problems are like, well, there's still problems, but it's okay because we like Joe. And it's, it's funny, but it happens.
Right.
So you'll want to go out on top and leave that positive final impression, because you only have one chance to make a first impression. You also have a good opportunity to make a lasting impression by going out and doing everything right and staying on top and being that dedicated service contractor that you told them you were going to be on the front end.
So it sounds too like we're talking about closing up an account with integrity.
With integrity, and that's sometimes very hard to do.
And very hard to do, I think, especially within the cleaning industry.
Yeah, it's a dirty world.
Yeah. Joel, let me ask, on the owner's side, it's easy to have an emotional response. Some of them we've been fired. That's it. I'm done. I've already lined up all the staff for you. Yeah.
Well, I probably got holes in the wall. It is an emotional response because they're tied to the money.
But you have multiple things to manage. The owner, our listener, has multiple things to manage, including still getting the job done to the end of the contract.
Because you want to go out with your integrity. It's so important. And not just you, but everybody that works for you.
And if you perform good service right up to the end of the contract, you may still have an opportunity with whoever's managing your services
To change their mind. I've seen that happen.
Okay, have you really?
I saw it happen, and that's why they put me into an account to run it. And the client told them that we're still going to honor our 30-day notice, but if you can make the change at the end of 30 days, we'd rather stay with the devil we know than the devil we don't know.
Let me ask you, this is going to be of particular interest to our listeners who are either managers or new owners. When do I tell my frontline cleaners we're done here?
OMG.
For those who can't see this, Joel's eyes just rolled behind his eyelids. What do you do with that, Joel?
Early in my career, I was like, we need to tell the people right away. And I was told, no, you wait until the end to tell them. And even in my own company, the people that report to me as the managers have also told me, we need to tell them right away. And I'm like, no, you need to tell them as late as possible.
Why not right away?
Usually you don't want to tell a person right away because they have that same emotional response that you, the owner, get when you find out that you just lost something.
But they don't have your long view as the owner.
They do not. They have the short term, I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
This client is just too picky. And if they're that picky, I'm not going to deal with them. And they may work that night. They may or may not call in the next night. Or they may just not show up. Or they're going to be vindictive and like half do things.
So you could have 30 days of headaches.
30 days of headaches.
Or
you can work your behind off and work with your management staff and try to do everything to still save it. You may save that account, but if you don't save it, you save face, you are honoring the contract, you are making sure that you do absolutely everything right in the eyes of the client so that they know that you didn't do anything wrong in the end and that you left with your head high. And sometimes that's really hard to do because I've been a part of situations that have been very volatile at the end where I've seen that happen. And sometimes the client can just be really rough on everybody.
On the other part of owner's responsibilities as well, you're looking to maintain your staff. Yes. So in those 30 days, you're probably looking for another account to plug them into. So while the company was released from a contract, that employee who might have an outburst, might end services, might work successfully to the end, whatever that might be, isn't being fired. You're not firing them. You're looking for another account to plug them into.
Because in the janitorial custodial service world, one is we have high turnover. But the other thing is any good salesperson or any good owner has got other opportunities in the hopper that might close, and you just tell that client, well, if your vendor decides to leave and just drop off the keys and take off, I've got some way to get that service to you right away. And that's happened too.
Speaking to our listener who is the company owner, the manager, the shift leader, somebody who's looking to have their own, if this sounds like juggling flaming chainsaws, that's probably because it is. And if you want to figure out how to do that, have someone coach you through it, contact Joel. Joel, thank you.
You're welcome.